My mother slapped me in front of 300 donors and screamed, "You will not destroy this charity just because I refused to pay you." The ballroom went silent. I touched my burning cheek and looked past her at the tables filled with bankers, doctors, business owners, and local politicians. My mother smiled when she saw their stunned faces. She thought they believed her. What she didn't know was that 10 minutes earlier, every major donor in that room had received a sealed copy of an independent audit, proving she had forged my signature, stolen nearly $2 million, and used money meant for sick children to build her private lake house. I didn't come to the charity ball to expose my mother. I came to give her one last opportunity to tell the truth. She answered with a slap. 10 years earlier, I had been 22, 5 months pregnant, and working in the cramped accounting office of the Bright Harbor Children's Foundation in Richmond, Virginia. My mother, Evelyn Hayes, had founded Bright Harbor after my younger sister died from leukemia when I was 14. At least, that was the story she told on stage. She wore white dresses, cried at the right moments, and remembered the names of donors' children. Newspapers called her Richmond's Mother of Mercy. At home, she was different. "You should be grateful I gave you a job," she reminded me whenever I stayed late. I handled deposits, organized invoices, and prepared weekly expense reports. The foundation paid me $19 an hour, but my mother expected me to behave as though she had handed me an inheritance. My stepfather Grant managed the foundation's contractors. My half-brother Caleb handled social media and donor events. They were paid salaries. I was paid in lectures. One Thursday afternoon, I found a transfer for $12,400 to a company called Harbor Outreach Logistics. There was no invoice attached. I walked into my mother's office holding the transaction report. "Do you have the paperwork for this?" She didn't look up from her laptop. "For what?" "Harbor Outreach Logistics. $12,400. Grant approved it." "For what service?" Her eyes lifted slowly. "Why are you interrogating me?" "I'm not. The bank statement needs to match an invoice. It was transportation." "For which event, Nora?" Her voice dropped into the tone she used when she wanted me to understand that the conversation was over. I stayed by the door. "The board reviews these reports," I said. "I can't classify $12,000 as transportation without documentation." She leaned back. "You're becoming very rigid. It's accounting. It's charity work. Sometimes paperwork arrives late. That I'll leave the transaction unclassified until it arrives." Her expression hardened. "No, record it as program transportation." "I can't do that," she smiled, not warmly. "You can, Nora. You're choosing not to." I returned to my desk and sent a simple email to the board treasurer. I wrote that one transaction lacked supporting documentation and should remain pending until an invoice was provided. That ordinary email destroyed my life. The next morning, my mother called an emergency staff meeting. When I entered the conference room, she was crying. Grant stood behind her with one hand on her shoulder. Caleb stared at the table. 3 board members were present. On the table sat an empty blue deposit envelope. My mother wiped her eyes. "Sit down, Nora." "What happened?" Grant closed the door. $18,000 from Tuesday's hospital fundraiser is missing, he said. I looked at the envelope. "I deposited Tuesday's checks." "The checks were deposited," my mother whispered. "The cash wasn't. There wasn't any cash in that envelope." My mother covered her mouth as though my answer had wounded her. Caleb finally looked at me. "Mom said you were the last person with it." I prepared the deposit. There were 14 checks and no cash. Grant slid a printed page toward me. It was an internal deposit form. At the bottom was my name. Beside the cash entry, someone had written $18,000. That isn't my handwriting. "But that is your signature," Grant said. I stared at it. It looked like my signature, but the final stroke curved in the wrong direction. "I didn't sign this." My mother began to sob. "Nora, please don't make this worse." I stood. "You think I stole $18,000? I don't want to believe that. You just accused me in front of the board. She reached across the table as if she wanted to hold my hand. We know you've been frightened about the baby. We know the father left. He didn't leave. We broke up. You told me you were struggling financially. I said I needed to find a cheaper apartment. Grant placed another page on the table. It was an email supposedly sent from my account to a payday lender. The message said I could repay a loan after receiving money from work. I never wrote this. My mother's voice softened. That's what addiction does, sweetheart. It makes people deny obvious things. She looked at the board members. I recently found out Nora has been gambling online. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Then I laughed because the accusation was so absurd. That laugh was the worst thing I could have done. My mother flinched. Grant said, "You think this is funny?" "No, I think you're insane." One board member whispered, "Nora, calm down." I pointed at the form. "Check the security cameras. Check the deposit records. Call the bank." My mother lowered her head. The office camera stopped recording Tuesday afternoon. Of course it had. By noon, my computer had been taken. By 3, I had been fired. By 6, my mother had called my landlord and told him I was under investigation for stealing from a children's charity. I came home to find my clothes packed in cardboard boxes. The townhouse belonged to a company controlled by Grant. He stood on the porch while I stared at the new lock. "You have 72 hours to collect the rest of your property," he said. "You planned this. Don't be dramatic. I'm pregnant. Then you should have thought about that before stealing from sick children." I called Caleb. He answered after the 5th ring. "Tell me you don't believe them." There was a long silence. Then he said, "Mom showed me the documents. They're fake. Why would she fake them?" "Because I questioned a payment. You always think Mom is attacking you." "She accused me of stealing $18,000. Maybe you panicked." "Caleb, I'm sorry," he said. "I can't get involved." That night, I slept in my car. The next morning, a local news blog published a story titled, "Pregnant Employee Suspected of Stealing from Children's Charity." My name wasn't in the headline. It was in the first paragraph. My mother told reporters she was heartbroken, but committed to transparency. No criminal charges were filed. She didn't need them. The accusation was enough. 2 friends stopped answering my calls. The father of my baby asked whether he needed to speak to a lawyer. 3 employers canceled interviews after searching my name. I moved into the spare room of a woman I knew from community college and spent the final months of my pregnancy entering invoices for a warehouse company at night. My daughter Sophie was born in January. My mother sent flowers. There was no card. I threw them away. For the next 10 years, I did the one thing Evelyn never expected. I learned. I finished my accounting degree through night classes. I earned my CPA license. Then I specialized in forensic accounting fraud examinations, manipulated ledgers, shell companies, false invoices, and electronic signatures. People sometimes asked why I had chosen that field. I always gave the same answer: because numbers don't cry when you question them. By 32, I worked for a regional firm investigating financial misconduct for banks, nonprofits, and family-owned companies. I had a small house, a stubborn 10-year-old daughter, and a reputation for finding the transaction everyone else missed. I had not spoken to my mother in almost 9 years. Then Marcus Reed called me. "Is this Nora Hayes?" "Yes." "My name is Marcus Reed. I used to work in compliance at Commonwealth Union Bank." I stopped typing. Bright Harbor had banked there. "What is this about I'm reviewing archived records before our systems are transferred to a new owner?" "Your name appeared on several authorization documents." "What kind of documents?" "Electronic transfer requests." "I haven't worked for Bright Harbor in 10 years." "I know." His voice became quieter. "That's why I called." We met at a coffee shop the following morning. Marcus was in his late 60s, with silver glasses and the cautious posture of someone who had spent his career expecting people to lie. He placed a folder on the table. I can't give you confidential bank documents, he said, but I can tell you what raised my concern. Go ahead. Between 2016 and 2022, Bright Harbor transferred more than $1.6 million to 4 vendors. Several transfers were authorized using your electronic signature certificate. That's impossible. The certificate was created when you worked there. I never had authorization for transfers. According to the Foundation's records, you did. I felt the coffee cup shaking in my hand. Where did the money go? I can't answer that. But the vendor addresses caught my attention. He wrote 4 names on a napkin: Harbor Outreach Logistics, Blue Haven Development, Childwell Furnishings, Mercy Ridge Consulting. The first name pulled me back into that conference room. Harbor Outreach Logistics, I whispered. You recognize it? That was the payment I questioned the day before they accused me of stealing. Marcus leaned forward. There's something else. The transfers were approved from the same network address. Which address? The executive office at Bright Harbor, my mother's office. That evening, I searched public property records. Blue Haven Development had built a 23-acre estate beside Lake Anna. The property included a 7-bedroom house, a guest cottage, a private dock, a heated pool, and something described on the permit as a therapeutic recreation pavilion. The owner was an LLC called Evelyn Grace Holdings. Evelyn Grace was my mother's full name. Bright Harbor's website called the property the Harbor Ridge Pediatric Recovery Retreat. The website showed carefully framed photographs of a white building, a garden, and children painting birdhouses. But aerial photographs showed something different. The pediatric retreat had a private wine cellar, a boathouse, and a gated driveway leading to my mother's personal residence. I called Marcus. I found the house. He was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Don't contact her." I wasn't planning to. That wasn't a suggestion. People who falsify records for 10 years don't stop because someone asks a difficult question. I contacted Daniel Mercer, one of Bright Harbor's largest donors. Daniel's wife had died of ovarian cancer. In her memory, he had donated almost $600,000 to support families with hospitalized children. I expected him to hang up when I said my name. Instead, he said, "I remember you." "You do?" "You worked the registration desk at the Foundation's winter auction. That was a long time ago. You were pregnant. Your mother told us you'd stolen money and disappeared." "I didn't disappear. I know that now." He agreed to meet me with his attorney. I showed him property records, vendor registrations, construction permits, and the information Marcus had legally confirmed. Daniel studied everything without speaking. Finally, he asked, "What do you want?" "The truth documented by people no one can dismiss." "You don't want revenge." "I did when I was 22. And now I want an audit." Daniel persuaded 6 major donors to fund an independent forensic review. To avoid any accusation that I had manipulated the findings, I did not conduct the official audit. An outside firm handled it. I only showed them where to start. 2 weeks later, my mother called. Her name appeared on my phone while Sophie sat across from me doing math homework. "Is that Grandma?" she asked. "She's never been your grandmother," I answered. "Hello, Mother. Nora." Her voice sounded warm, almost fragile. "I heard you've been contacting Bright Harbor donors." "I spoke with one donor, Daniel Mercer." "Then you already know." She gave a small laugh. "I know you're confused." "About what?" "Harbor Ridge. The property looks luxurious because sick children deserve beauty." "How many children stayed there last year?" "That information is confidential." "How many nights was the retreat occupied by qualifying families?" "You're not entitled to operational data." "Then why are you calling?" She sighed. "Our annual charity ball is next month. I think it's time we reconcile publicly." "Publicly? I've spent 10 years protecting you." "From what?" "From the consequences of your own mistake." I almost laughed. Instead, I said, "What would reconciliation require?" "A A simple statement. You acknowledge that the missing money was the result of poor judgment during a difficult pregnancy. I confirm that I forgave you years ago. We move forward. You want me to confess to theft. I want to restore your reputation. By confirming the accusation, people respect accountability. Send me the statement. She paused. You'll consider signing it. I'll read it. The document arrived an hour later. It included a confession, a non-disparagement agreement, and a clause requiring me to surrender any records connected to Bright Harbor. I forwarded it to the audit team. 3 days later, the foundation announced that several historical accounting files had been corrupted during a server upgrade. My mother had upgraded her plan. Unfortunately for her, donor reports had been backed up through a third-party fundraising portal. The deleted invoices still existed. One invoice claimed Bright Harbor had purchased 24 pediatric therapy beds. The delivery address was the lake house. Construction photographs showed the therapy beds were handcrafted bedroom furniture, placed in guest suites used by my mother's friends. Another invoice billed the charity $84,000 for an accessible hydrotherapy installation. It was the infinity pool. Then, a Richmond lifestyle magazine published an article about my mother's private family sanctuary, complete with photographs of her hosting a wine tasting weekend at Harbor Ridge. I sent the article to Daniel. He called me immediately. She charged us for that pool. Yes. She gave a speech about children with mobility disorders? Yes. I wrote a check that night. I know. He went quiet. Then he said, "We're not waiting until after the gala." Before the audit could be finalized, Caleb appeared at my office. He looked older than I remembered. Tired. Nervous. "You've been digging into Mom's accounts. An independent firm has. You started it." "Yes." He shut the door. "She says you're trying to extort her." "How much does she claim I demanded?" $250,000. I demanded an audit. She showed me an email. From me. Yes. I turned my laptop toward him. "Look at the address." He stared. The email had been sent from norahayes.cpa@consultantmail.com. My actual address ended in .net. Caleb swallowed. "She said you created a second account. Ask her to forward the original with its metadata." "She said her attorney told her not to." "Of course he did." He started pacing. "You don't understand what this could do to the foundation." "No, you don't understand what the foundation did to me." "She made mistakes. She forged my signature for 10 years. He stopped. "What?" I opened one transfer summary. His face changed. "That's not possible." "Your name appears on 3 approvals, too." "My approvals? Did you authorize payments to Childwell Furnishings?" "No." "Then she used your credentials as well." Caleb sat down. For the first time in 10 years, my brother looked frightened of the right person. "My login was saved on Mom's office computer," he whispered. "That's why she kept everything in the family." He covered his face. "I told everyone you stole that money. You believed what was convenient. I was 19. You were old enough to let your pregnant sister sleep in her car." He lowered his hands. "What do you want me to do?" "Nothing dramatic. Preserve your emails. Don't warn her. Don't delete anything. She's my mother. She's mine too." The night before the charity ball, Grant called me. "Nora, this has gone far enough." "I agree. We can make this disappear." "How?" $150,000. You sign the statement, withdraw your accusations, and stay away from Bright Harbor. You told Caleb I demanded $250. That was Evelyn's misunderstanding. Your story changed quickly. His voice hardened. "You're a single mother. Public litigation is expensive. Custody questions can be ugly." I felt cold. "Are you threatening Sophie?" I'm reminding you that stability matters in family court. You accused me of gambling 10 years ago. Is that the plan? Recycle the old story? I'm offering peace. No, Grant, you're offering hush money. Be careful. I have been careful. Virginia allowed a participant in a conversation to record it. Grant had just given the auditors the final piece they needed. The next evening, I walked into the Bright Harbor charity ball, wearing a dark blue dress Sophie had chosen. You look like someone who knows a secret, she had told me. I know several. The ballroom glittered with crystal lights and white roses. Huge screens displayed photographs of smiling children beside the words, "Compassion without limits." My mother stood near the stage in a silver gown. When she saw me, her expression flickered. Then she opened her arms. Nora! Cameras turned toward us. I understood immediately. She had invited local reporters. She wanted a performance. I let her hug me. Against my ear, she whispered, "Sign the statement before dinner, or I'll tell everyone you came here for money." I stepped back. Then tell them. Her smile tightened. During dinner, sealed envelopes were quietly placed beside the major donors' programs. Each envelope contained a summary of the independent audit and instructions not to open it until Daniel Mercer gave the signal. My mother noticed the envelopes. She leaned toward Grant. He checked his phone. Then, the scheduled keynote speaker was suddenly removed from the program. My mother walked onto the stage. Before we continue, she began, "I need to address a painful family matter." Daniel looked across the room at me. I nodded once. The envelopes opened. My mother continued. "My estranged daughter returned to my life recently. I hoped she wanted healing. Sadly, she demanded money in exchange for staying silent about false accusations against this foundation." People began reading. Pages turned. My mother noticed. Her voice became louder. "Nora has struggled for years with resentment and financial instability. As her mother, I have protected her reputation even after she stole from Bright Harbor while employed here." I stood. "That's not true." She stepped down from the stage. "Please don't do this. You invited me to do exactly this." She grabbed my wrist. "You need help. Let go. You are frightening these people." "No, the audit is frightening them." Her face changed. "What audit? The one they're reading." She looked around. Daniel stood beside his table. "My donation paid for a pediatric hydrotherapy pool," he said. "Why does the audit say it became the pool at your private residence?" My mother released my wrist. "The retreat is owned by the foundation." "No," I said. "It's owned by Evelyn Grace Holdings. That company leases the property to Bright Harbor for $1 a year, while the charity paid all construction, furniture, maintenance, utilities, and staff." That arrangement was approved by documents carrying my forged signature. She stared at me. I saw the calculation behind her eyes. She couldn't deny everything. So she changed roles. Her eyes filled with tears. "You told me I could use your signature." "I was 22 and had no transfer authority. You were involved in the planning." "I questioned the first payment. The next day, you accused me of stealing. That is a lie. The bank's archived network logs show the authorizations came from your office." Grant stepped forward. "This is an ambush created by a bitter former employee." Daniel held up the report. "This was prepared by an independent forensic accounting firm." My mother pointed at me. She fed them manipulated records. The records came from the bank, the donor portal contractors, insurers' property filings, and Bright Harbor's own cloud backups. "You hacked our system." "No." "You stole confidential files." "No." "You've hated me since your sister died." The room went still. That was her most dangerous move. My sister's death had always been her shield. I took a breath. "You created this foundation in Emily's name," I said. "Then you used her photograph to finance a house she would never have been allowed to enter." My mother slapped me. The sound cracked through the ballroom. Several people gasped. She leaned close and hissed, "You will not destroy this charity just because I refuse to pay you." I touched my cheek. Then I looked at Daniel. He pressed a button on his phone. Grant's recorded voice came through the ballroom speakers. $150,000. You sign the statement, withdraw your accusations, and stay away from Bright Harbor. Then his next words played. Custody questions can be ugly. Grant lunged toward the audio equipment. 2 hotel security officers blocked him. My mother looked at him. You called her. You told me to handle it, he snapped. The room erupted. Caleb walked toward the stage holding a laptop. My mother stared at him. What are you doing? He connected the laptop to the screen. An email appeared. It had been sent from my mother to Grant 11 years earlier. Use Nora's signature scan. She already questioned Harbor Outreach. If the cash deposit goes missing tomorrow, the board will focus on her instead of the vendor. My mother's knees seemed to weaken. That email is fabricated. Caleb's voice shook. It was in my archived account. You copied me by mistake. You don't understand the context. The next message says, once she's gone, keep her certificate active. Family signatures attract less scrutiny. Caleb. I defended you for 10 years. I was protecting the foundation. You framed your pregnant daughter. She was going to ruin everything over one missing invoice. The moment the words left her mouth, she knew. So did everyone else. Daniel looked toward the board chair. The chair stood. Effective immediately. Evelyn Hayes and Grant Hayes are removed from all foundation authority, pending investigation. The foundation's accounts have been placed under emergency dual control. My mother laughed breathlessly. You can't remove me. I founded Bright Harbor. The board just did. You owe everything to me. No, Daniel said. The children did. 2 investigators from the Virginia office of the Attorney General were waiting outside the ballroom with counsel representing the donor group. No one was arrested that night. Real consequences rarely arrive as quickly as applause. But the accounts were frozen. The lake property was secured. The original server's phones and financial records were seized through court-authorized processes over the following weeks. The final audit found more than $1.9 million in diverted charitable funds. My mother had not stolen all of it for herself. That would have been too simple. Some money had paid influential consultants, luxury travel disguised as donor recruitment private events, categorized as family counseling, and inflated contracts awarded to Grant's associates. The fake theft accusation against me had served 2 purposes. It removed the only employee questioning the first shell vendor, and it created a permanent scapegoat whose signature could be used without raising suspicion. 8 months later, Grant pleaded guilty to conspiracy, wire fraud, and falsifying financial records. My mother fought longer. She gave interviews. She cried outside court. She claimed she had been an overwhelmed founder, manipulated by her husband, her accountants, her son, and finally me. Then, prosecutors played her emails. She accepted a plea agreement before trial. The lake house was sold. The proceeds, along with recovered assets and insurance settlements, were returned to Bright Harbor under new management. The foundation survived. My mother did not remain part of it. Caleb apologized to me more than once. The first time, I didn't accept it. The second time, I listened. The third time, I told him, forgiveness doesn't rebuild trust. Behavior does. He nodded. I know. He began working with the new board to contact former employees who had been pressured into silence. He never asked me to call him a good person for doing it. That was a start. A year after the charity ball, Sophie and I stood outside a small office with a new sign above the door. Clear Path Financial Advocacy. We help nonprofit employees, caregivers, and family business workers document financial abuse before accusations could erase their reputations. Sophie looked at the sign. Is this because of Grandma? No, really, it started because of her. I unlocked the door, but I didn't build it for her. Inside my office, I kept one framed page from the audit. Not the page showing the stolen money, not the forged signatures. It was the final conclusion. The initial fraud continued because concerns raised by a junior employee were punished rather than investigated. For 10 years, my mother believed she had destroyed me by controlling the story. She had forgotten something important. A lie can win the room for one night, but evidence has a longer memory.